Okay, welcome back, guys. So today we're going to be working on creating scars for this. Let's scar this guy up. So I'll be using I'll be using a different layer for this. So I'm going to be naming that layer scars. Obviously, should be named scars. So let me just rename this and name this to scars. That should be fine. And we're going to be using the AG geometry feature for this. Just to, or maybe no, maybe no, maybe not, because it doesn't need to be too detailed, because it's just like an inflated skin with some smoothness to it. So it does not need to be too detailed. It's not supposed to have like detailed skin pores in there. It's supposed to be a bit smoother. But I'm going to show you guys reference though. But for now, what we using the reference from this store character. And since we have this on a separate layer, that'll work just fine. So I can use let me look for which brush to use that will give me that smoothed surface. I think let's try the clay brush. Yeah, that kind of gives us that smoothed surface, which is exactly what we need. But let me kind of try. Oh, what did I just do? Let me go back up. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So let's see. Let me try. Okay, let's use the clay brush. So I'm going to using the reference, but using the reference on the side, on the left and right hand side. Something like, see, I kind of smoothened out the skin pores. That's exactly what we need. So I'm kind of following the reference image as a guide for this. Okay. Maybe take down the brush size and kind of make this thinner at the edge. Let me get a closer view on this. Yeah, this is fine. Now we can see this properly now. Okay. Something like so. I will do another layer on top of this just to make this feel more inflated. Maybe even more down here also, like so. Kind of do on the sides. So now I can kind of go like in a pattern, like in a slanted pattern on top of this. Something like so. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Something just to have some kind of texture difference to it. Then with the damn standard brush now, I begin to do some kind of carving in there. Carving shouldn't be straight anyways. It should be kind of randomized, but following no, let me undo that, that's way too long. Following the jaggedness of the edges. So I'm keeping in mind the jaggedness of the edges and kind of digging into those jagged edges even more. Just to kind of have some kind of what should I like some kind of crevices around it. So it feels like as if it's being dug out of the skin. But it doesn't have to be too aggressive though. Just can just go light-handed on this. And you don't have to do this all around it. But something like this should be fine. Then I'll kind of cut in between. Kind of flow in the same directional flow that I went up and down initially. Then I'll kind of cut in between. Just to make this have some more texture to it. Now that's fine. That's fine. I think we can work with this. We can definitely work with this. Kind of carve this in, just have some depth in there. And it's fine that it's kind of smooth because that's exactly what we need. Okay. Yeah, that seems fine. That seems fine. So with the closer view now, you can see the details in there. So with the clay build-up brush now, I can kind of do the same pattern movement around this, up or down, up and down, just to add some more texture variations to this. It's not very obvious, but just to have something in there regardless. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. All right. So let's see. We also need to do. We also need to do some skying also on it on the just. Let me show you a reference image for that. Something like so. So let's kind of do use the same brush also. It's basically the same thing we're going to be repeating in here also. I'm sure you guys already get the idea. I'm sure you guys get the idea already. It's basically the same thing I'm going to be doing in here. Okay. So now we can kind of add that randomize the direction. Let me kind of mix add some depth to this. Something like so. Yeah, that's fine. The edge can feel faded in, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, something like it should be fine. Kind of do the same for the other one. It doesn't have to be straight anyway. Just can kind of make it on the straightness uneven. Let me zoom in here, kind of see this properly. Okay. So now I can kind of do that flow on top of this now. Up to down, up to down, up to down. Just to have some kind of texture, just to have some kind of breakup of the surface. Okay. Yeah, also. Yeah, something like this should be fine. Let's use the clay build-up brush also and kind of do something on top of that. Just to have another variation of detailing on top of that. Okay, like this should be fine. Then the them standard brush, I kind of carve out something like just to have some kind of depth around it. Then it doesn't have to be smooth, it doesn't have to be in a straight line. So you kind of make this a big zigzag. Not really zigzag, but just kind of following the flow of the jagged edge around it. Something like so. Okay. Yeah, that seems fine. That seems fine. Maybe we won't do some of this on top, just to cut this in. So yeah, this that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So maybe even the other parts of the other part, we can just might just leave the other part the way it is. Or maybe we can do something in there. Let's see. Let's see. Though I don't want to kind of make this car too identical though. So I might not do too much in there. Because even when we add the text a texture on top, a kind of painted texture on top of this, that car becomes hidden. Like the details there becomes hidden until you kind of zoom into that region, then you can actually see what's in there. For the most part, it gets like hidden. Most of these texture details becomes hidden. But from a distance, it's not so obvious. But when you get closer, it kind of catches the light more properly, and then the texture variation you added there with the clay brush and a clay build-up brush kind of makes it look more appealing. Okay. So just the same repetitive process actually. The same repetitive process. Okay. Right. So now let's do something. Let's isolate this now. But now I'm thinking maybe for this particular part, but this particular part does not have enough resolution. Okay, let's just work with what we have for now. So I think I'm going to be using the dem standard brush initially to let me just get this in view. I think I kind of took a screenshot from. Okay, let me just show you guys since we're here. Let me show you guys here. This is exactly what we're trying to do. Let me look for another reference to me. I kind of better illustrate here. Something like this should be fine. So you can see the variation of the texture in there now, very similar to what we did also. So we're actually on the right track. We're actually on the right track. So now I took some screenshot from a YouTube video of some video shots from the game itself. So let me just use this as a reference guide. So I can use the dem standard brush now. It's kind of carve out something like so. Maybe something like no, no, no. This won't work. This won't work. This won't work. Okay, you know what? See what we're going to do here. I'm going to carve out a flow for it. I'm going to carve out a flow for it. No, no, let me do this again. Nah, definitely not, definitely not. Something like so. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to use like a directional flow of how I should kind of add my sky in there. So with the clay brush now, I kind of see now I'm kind of following the direction of that cut line, filling it up. It's just like I just added that as a guide to kind of help me have a better flow to it, and I'll kind of fill that up. So obviously the ends should be kind of tapered in, like a bit thinner, but the center part should be a bit broader. So let me kind of broaden out the center parts. Sorry, so I'll broaden out the center part now, something like this. So you want to go like, let me get okay from a distance. Maybe I will do more. Let me make this even. Let me now use the clay build up brush. Kind of add some variations to this. Just have some kind of texture variations to this. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down in a continuous flow. Just to break up the surface even more. Now, unlike the reference image itself has like a depth in there, like a fresh cut. But I'm kind of making something that feels more of a scar. Okay. First, if I want this to feel more of a fresh cut in there, even as it is like this, I'll just have to use the dem standard brush and just add a deep cut in there and kind of expand the cut out. And that will look similar to the reference image we have on the side. But if you want to kind of do this the way it is, just to have just like a sky in there, you can we'll just leave this the way it is. But anyone that actually works for you though. So I'm going to be using this reference also as a guide to kind of add like some kind of stray off, should I call this trailing off scars? But it feels more like a stitched up scar. So these stitches on the side kind of having some um kind of it's kind of which word can I use for this? Okay, let me just call these stitches scars. Let me just call these stitches scars. So that would be a better explanation for it, or a better naming convention for it. So something like this now. Then I will kind of use the dem standard brush to kind of carve this in even more. Kind of make that feel more pronounced. Okay. So it's basically the same process or the same method we used initially that we're kind of repeating in here also. Something like so. Just carve those in. Okay. Maybe I might even broaden it out even more. But even though we leave this as it is, this is still kind of fine to work with. This is still fine to work with regardless. This is still okay to work with. So in between, kind of cuts, add some cuts in there. This will still work just fine. Okay. I'm just looking at this now. I'm guessing I might even need to just use AHD geometry for this, just to have another extra layer of break up details on top of that using the clay build-up brush. So let me just kind of get this to be on AHD geometry mode and kind of isolate this tummy part so we can kind of add more details on top of that. So let me go to activate the AHD geometry. So let me just put my mouse cursor down here and hit here on the keyboard. This is fine. We can actually use this. Maybe if you want to be more precise, you can also, but since the part that we need to kind of adjust, add some more details on is visible, so that's fine. Okay, okay. Just click OK on this. Now, all these kind of minor details you add in here, that kind of makes your work a bit better because you're kind of going the extra mile to kind of make this feel more detailed. Though even though you do a great job here and you do a very poor job in the texturing, it kind of affect the overall greatness of your sculpts and make it look a bit bad. So sculpting, texturing, and also lighting and finding your final renders are very important. But each step of the way is quite important to kind of make your work look really good. And I'm going to be showing you guys the entire process for this. So I think we are done with this now. So out of 8D geometry mode, see what this is what we have. It's kind of cool. If you want to add more scarring on top of this, feel free. You can do that if you want to, as much as you like. So bye for now. See you guys in the next lesson.